Welcome to User and I, the channel where I explore all things UX and UI design. Today we're going to be focused on making your designs more creative and more exciting. We're going to be using 4 things: custom shapes, gradients, transparency, and blending modes. Let's get started. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start with a simple background design, and we'll build on that as we go along. So if we start with just a square here, we'll make that a bit more of a rectangle. If you're new to the channel, we always go with rounded edges just because we like how it looks. And we are going to duplicate that, and we're going to right click on the bottom one. I'm going to go down and use that as a mask. Now we're doing that because we're going to make a lot of shapes. They're going to be bigger than the artboard, but I don't want them to overlap this shape here. So I'm going to change this background color to, go to this color here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding the elements on which will create our nice designs that we're going for. So I'm going to click on here and I'll just start drawing some shapes, and as you can see it's above the main background but it's inside the mask, which is great. I'm just going to pull this up and move that there, and I'm going to duplicate that using Command D, and I'm going to move it across, and I'm just going to turn on the transparency on that one to about 70. Select them both, move it across, and then I'll turn that again, move it down, and I'll turn on transparency of this to 30. Now we've already got something cool appearing here. I think the last thing that I want to do is just here, I'll duplicate that again and I'll bring it further down. And what I'm going to do here is that this is going to be a gradient. And we want the gradient going from top left to bottom right. I'm just going to pull it in just here, and then next I'll bring this up here. So you see how I'm getting a little fade already? That's what I'm looking for. Okay, awesome. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select all of these, well except our gradient one just here. In fact, let's lock that. I'm going to select all of these except the background, and I'm just going to go ahead and change the color. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to play around with the colors here and just see what looks nice. Quite light, but they've all gone back to 100. Still pass through, it's fine. What I want to do, because it feels a bit harsh, I want to go back and play around with variations of that color here, and then I will ungroup that. And what I'm going to do here is take this color and bring it up here again, actually something different. Maybe like a deep. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. I'm also going to close this and maybe change the background color. Okay, I actually prefer this, and I'm going to change some colors here on the green side. We're going to go there and make that a little less transparent. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an example card details. If this was a card, we want the 4 numbers, of course. It goes down here. We also want 3 circles. 4, sorry. And what I will do then is group them. I'm going to hit K on my keyboard and we're going to scale those down. Hit escape and play with the spacing just a little bit. I'm going to change these all to white, and I'll bring them down here, and I'll make this a group again, and I'll add auto layout. What I'm also going to do is change this to white. I'm also going to make it semi-bold, and then I'm going to play with the spacing just a little bit. Bring that down here, and then I want to scale this down a bit more. So I'm going to come down here. Okay, that works for me. I'm going to scale this up a tiny bit. Awesome. And just going to change the transparency a little bit. So that's what we have here. And then if we imagine a logo being just here. And you can see how it's all part of the going into the mask. That's what we want to make sure. We're going to scale this up. Actually, put it with lowercase. We're also going to make that white. And I'm going to add some transparency to that as well. And I'm just going to change this color, make it something a bit softer. There we go. I'll do that here as well. Perfect. And then I'm going to line these up just here. Perfect. So that's our first gradient example. As you can see, we played around with colors, we played around with transparency, we played around with gradients as well. And we've come up with something a bit more interesting than just a flat design. What I'm going to do is duplicate this, and we're going to make another one. I'm going to lock that, and this time we're going to make it a little bit more interesting. If we keep these designs here, we'll just lock these layers. And what we are then going to do is grab some circles. These aren't going to be perfect either, but we'll just try to experiment and see what feels nice. I'm going to make this color here deep blue. I'll change that to hex, so I'm going to copy this and there, but I want it lighter, much lighter in fact. And then what I want to do here is pretty much take down the transparency a little bit. I'm going to duplicate that again. I'm going to bring it to the last layer just down here. And I'm going to duplicate that again and just bring it in a touch. So we have this little shape just here. And we're going to play around with the colors just a tiny bit. I'm going to add a gradient to this, and then we're going to go with radial. That's what we want, and I'm just going to bring that up, and as you can see, if that's what we want, here's the center of it, so I want to drag that outwards, but I want to swap them as well. Then we have this little shape taken here. I'm going to click out of that now, delete that other layer, and in fact, I'll move this one down, and then I'm going to duplicate that one more time, stretch it out a tiny bit, and then I'm going to click there to activate these points here. And I'm going to start making some custom shapes, but I want to click this, which will take out So you see how currently it's bending on an angle, which is good, but I want it a bit round. So see how it activates both sides now? That's what I'm looking for. And I'm going for any shape in particular, just something that looks a bit interesting. And then I will multiply that. I'm going to move our text group above all of this. And I'm going to scale this up. So already we're seeing a really interesting shape, or an interesting design take shape. And the good thing about all of this is that if you just change the background color, the main background color I should say, let's go here, it changes the entire feel of the design below it, of all the designs above it. So I quite like that actually. Feels really nice. And if we give that a stroke, we can start getting a bit more interesting here as well. You can't really see that. Let me bring it up a touch. There you go. So that's design number 2. Now if I zoom out, you can just see how interesting these look already. So that was number 1, that was number 2. We're gonna go in for a third one. And in fact, if I unlock that, I'm gonna make these into a group. And I'm gonna make these an auto layer as well. And then I'm going to duplicate it. So if we go in 100%, I'm going to zoom in a bit more, and we're going to start from scratch again. We are going to change this color. Let's go for like orange. Let's start there. That'll be our starting point. And I think what I want to do this time is go for some hard angles on this one. And we're going to come down here, duplicate that. Let's extend that out, rotate it a tiny bit, and we bring it in there. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go with gradients on this one. That already looks a bit interesting actually. And I'm just going to apply the same gradient here. I want this one on top. And what I will do is I will take out the transparency. And on one end, I'm going to have that color. And on the other end, we're going to have a darker red. Now I don't exactly know how this is going to look like just yet, but if we play with the blending modes, we can already see some cool designs. I think color looks the most interesting at the moment. I'm going to bring these to the top and lock that, and I'm going to do the same here. We are going to turn up the transparency on this. I'm going to bring this across. I'm going to go for a blue. I'm going to copy that hex code. I'm going to put it back in here. And then I'm just going to change it a tiny bit. And let's see how we get interesting. So it seems on this one we have a bit of the white just down here. There we go. So let's change that. Okay, let's get rid of that one. So to delete a gradient point, for lack of a better word, you click and you press backspace and it will just disappear. That was what was causing our problem earlier. And we'll just make that really deep blue. So what we have is this shape. See how they interact down here and change? That's what we want. And I'm going to change the blend mode of this as well. See what else we can create. I'm happy to go with luminosity for now actually. And what I'll do is I'll play around with this background color. Actually, I do like that a lot actually. And I feel like I'm going to come in one more time with a different shape. I'm going to double click that, come here, I'm going to drag that point over, and I'm going to place it just here. And for this color, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to try over blue. I don't know what this is going to look like just yet, but we'll figure it out. Okay, so I don't really like any of these, and that's fine. If I change transparency a little bit and go back in and change my other colors, I do like that orange. I can make it a gradient. See what that looks like. Ah, that looks interesting. And if I duplicate that, and what we want to do is flip horizontal, I'll rotate that. In fact, let's do this. Let's duplicate and then turn on transparency just there and bring it further to just down there. And what I'll do is I'll merge this down just a little bit. Okay, so we've got a few interesting bits here already. So as you can see, by just using transparency, the blend mode, the opacity, and a few shapes, we're coming up with a few interesting things here. So we have sharp lines just here, and we have a few swirls here, and then we've got really pointed edges. So unfortunately, this video ended really abruptly because my footage was corrupted towards the end. But on next week's video, we are going to be exploring ways of how to use these gradient backgrounds in our real world designs. So I'll see you next episode.